First mission. Round 1. Get ready.
There are some things that will always be cool. Dinosaurs, superheroes, and robots. When I bought my Saturn after COVID restrictions were lifted, I was excited to see a 3D arena mech fighter included. This is my type of game. Or is it? This is Virtual On Cyber Troopers for Sega Saturn. The game was developed by Sega AM3, who created titles such as Sega Rally, Virtua Tennis, and Crazy Taxi. Virtual On Cyber Troopers is a robot shooter-themed 3D arena fighter where you pick a mech and fight against another in this open space with objects you can hide behind to avoid taking enemy fire. There was originally online for this game in North America and Japan, using the NetLink device to play one opponent at a time. Back in 1996, this was a crazy concept. Now, nearly every game goes online in some fashion. Originally, the North American version was going to be titled Virtual On, while the Japanese version was going to be titled Cyber Troopers, until it was ultimately decided to combine both names. I think that was probably a good call. The presentation is excellent, with futuristic style and flair. Each robot mech looks like a mix of Gundam and Transformers characters while looking original in their own right. Each mech has their own set of ranged attacks and melee weapons, as well as their own speed and endurance, depending on the size. Slimmer mechs are easier to maneuver, while large ones control more like tanks. Likewise, smaller framed robots cannot take as much damage as large robots. You have to try each one and see what style and weapons work best with your playstyle and skill set. Actual gameplay is where things get a little dicey. You see, the camera is from a 3D game in the mid-90s on a console where most people primarily used one D-pad. It's as strange as you can imagine. The shoulder buttons ever so slowly pan the camera left or right. By the time you fully turn the camera where you want it to be, your opponent has already moved to a different spot. Thankfully, according to the game's manual, you can hit the X, Y, and Z buttons together at the same time to change the camera's angle or reset it in a different location altogether. That's still a weird thing to do for such a simple thing. If you try that in a dogfight with a difficult opponent, you sacrifice however many seconds it takes for you to get 3 fingers on those buttons and wait for the camera to respond. If only the camera was in a fixed location, I feel like that could have alleviated some of the problems.
Round 1. Get ready.
Speaking of weird convoluted uses of the Saturn controller, the controls are a mess. There's a steep learning curve too. It's not absolutely impossible, but after the first 2 levels, your opponent's able to outmaneuver you in such a way, you must come up with a game plan, get used to your mech's movements, which varies with each vehicle, and get the controls down to such a degree that you can deal with the camera and not skip a beat. The controls are as follows. A fires your left weapon, B dashes, C fires your right weapon, X and Z buttons jump, and Y fires the gun in the center of your mech. If you are up close to your opponent, you can use the left and right weapons for melee attacks. That is, if they don't leave you in the dust by them. The melee attacks felt kind of delayed. Not sure if that was a me thing, but I found that to be a difficult thing unless they were pretty much standing still. When I played to get footage for the video, it had been years since I last played the game, so it took me some time to get reacclimated with the controls. Eventually, I found the game was easier to control when using your first 3 fingers on your right hand to designate 2 possible buttons per finger. Doesn't sound very intuitive, huh? The first few levels aren't too bad, but my lord, you eventually get a mech that's big, has lots of firepower, and is quicker than lightning. You can hit him, but you'll have to master the button layout and learn to zigzag by using the boost to evade attacks. The thing with early 3D is, the graphics were kind of a mess, but we didn't seem to mind since we knew that 3D games were a work in progress. When 3D was done right, those games became immortal. Ocarina of Time and Super Mario 64 are great examples, but when they were done wrong, at best they were fun curiosities for their time. Now, no one really messes with these games because of the janky 3D. One such series that comes to mind is Battle Arena Toshinden. People seemed to like the games enough until they played other fighting games like Virtua Fighter or Tekken. Now no one talks about Battle Arena Toshinden, but I still hear YouTubers discuss how great early Tekken games looked and played. In the same vein, Virtual On Cyber Troopers is at best an interesting curiosity. At worst, it's a buggy game with interesting ideas that ultimately fell flat.
Get ready.
With controls that are difficult to manage, lots of 3D pop-in, a camera that would drive anyone mad, and a steep learning curve, Virtual On Cyber Troopers is a game that's interesting to look back on as a stepping stone in the history of 3D gaming, but is otherwise best left to the past. Even if the robot mech designs are cool and the style of the artwork is pretty neat, I could only recommend this game to die-hard Sega fans that are used to the underbaked 3D visuals, or perhaps people who are morbidly curious. Currently, Virtual On is a fairly decent price compared to the rest of the Saturn catalog, coming in at over $50 complete in box. For the price, I still wouldn't dive in, especially when you can get a Satiator and pack it full of games, like I ended up doing not long after I bought my Saturn. Emulating this game is quite tricky to do, so if you want to experience Virtual On Cyber Troopers, I would seriously recommend skipping the disc entirely and saving up for a Satiator. That way, if you decide you don't like it, you can always play any number of Japanese shooters that never came stateside, like Tsukio Gurentai or Radiant Silvergun. But what do you think? Did you ever play Virtual On Cyber Troopers? How about the sequel on the Dreamcast? Let me know about your experiences in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.